Good morning, guys. Today I wanted to talk to you about crystallization. It's something that we all deal with selling honey. If you have a large harvest and you're carrying honey over throughout the fall and winter to provide to your customers, then it's just something that happens. Unfortunately, a lot of consumers in the States here, they don't like granulated honey. They find it unappealing, and it will sit on the shelf. And your stores want you to stock clear honey. So, what can you do? The only option is to liquefy the honey. Uh, it's also nearly impossible to package up crystallized honey, so you have to deal with that as well. Your bottling tanks can help you out a lot with that, but a honey warming cabinet can take you even further. It can help you finish your product after you bottle it so it's ready for the stores, and it can help you prepare your buckets or however you store it for preparation into bottles. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I want to show you this. So this bottle here is completely crystallized. It's solid. Um, this one is clear and nice and ready for the stand. These came off of my porch honey stand this morning. I run an honor stand from my home. I keep it stocked with a small amount of my product lineup. Um, I have a lot of regular customers that come there and pick up at their convenience, and it really works out well for me and for them. But the crystallized honey sits there. Nobody picks it up. So I have to cycle it out. I put it in my honey warming cabinet, usually for 3 days at a low temperature, and it clears it up, and I'm good to restock. So building a honey warming cabinet is very simple. You'll need an insulated box of some sort. You can build one, or you can repurpose some trash. An upright freezer makes an ideal warming cabinet. A chest freezer makes a pretty decent one. And I've even seen dishwasher shelves used effectively. So you need pretty much three components. You need a heat source, a fan, and some sort of regulation. On the units that I build, I use an Inkbird thermostat. It has an alarm on it, but it also has a good range for selecting. It's a digital thermostat, and it's plug and play. It's really simple. You just run your wires out and plug them into them, and it has a probe. The probe goes inside the warming cabinet, uh, and you're good to go with that. Then the fan. I like a fan that's made for high temperature use, like a muffin fan. You can use desk fans or smaller fans. They tend to burn up from being in a higher temperature for a long time. Um, it doesn't even have to be that high of a temperature, really. 110 degrees or what have you. They wear out faster. But the muffin fans, they just keep on going. They're built for high temperature use. So the reason that you need a fan is because wherever your heat source is, without air circulation, you're going to have a hot spot. With air circulation, and it only requires a very low speed. That's why I also like the muffin fans, because you can get a variable one to where it's just putting out very little air current. And that's all you need inside this box to circulate your heat and keep it regular, because you want the same temperature at the bottom of the box as you have at the top of the box. And it's very important that your thermostat probe is positioned in a place inside the box where it's going to get an accurate temperature. Like, you don't want to have that right beside the heat source, or you're going to have a false reading, and it's not going to do what you need. It's going to click on and off, and your honey's never going to get to the temperature that it needs to get to liquefy. So this box here is a commercial refrigerator. I really like the look of this one. It was given to me by a friend, David Perry. It was a commercial refrigerator that was no longer working, that was a throwout. It had a large cooling unit on the top, which I removed, insulated, and sealed back up. After that, I was left with just a simple box. Now, in a regular upright freezer for the home, one light bulb will do. These are 100-watt light bulbs. This large of a box, I ran 2 with my muffin fan mounted on the outside wall and my probe toward the center here underneath, coming down about right in this way. This particular fridge will hold, I think, 16 buckets. I really haven't counted how many cases. I don't do a lot of bottle honey sales. I do more buckets. But it does a great job for me. I like the stainless steel look. It matches the aesthetic of my other equipment. But pretty doesn't really matter with it. As long as you can find you a upright freezer rather, it'll work out for you. Chest freezers, again, work pretty well also. Now, the thermostat is extremely important that you buy something dependable, because it could save you a lot of money in that honey. You need it to be accurate in cutting the temperatures off. You need to run tests on it before you stock it with your honey. You can scorch honey, and believe it or not, the 100-watt light bulb can get over 200 degrees, and it will absolutely caramelize your honey. If you have honey bears in there or small plastics, it can absolutely just melt them to where the weight, they collapse and ooze out everywhere. It can even melt the plastic inside of the freezer shell itself. So it's bad news. And if you had 10 buckets in one, or 3 buckets even, you've lost quite a bit of money there. So that's not something you want to do. As far as temperatures go and what you need to run your honey warming cabinets at, it's really going to be up to you and how you market your honey. I want to touch on the subject of raw honey. So with the USDA labels, the USDA raw honey doesn't mention anything about temperature. Most of your descriptions in your USDA as far as honey labeling don't mention anything about temperature. There isn't any law specifying temperature, so it's a range. A lot of people believe that anything over 110 is damaging to the honey. Some people go even lower at 100 degrees, which I don't buy into that. And you may even hear 120 to 130. And some of your packers will even argue that over that it's fine. So, in my personal experience, I like to run mine at around 110 degrees. I have found that you will not be able to liquefy the honey any lower than 110. You'll get most of it out, but you'll end up on the bottom. It will never get that hard granulation lower than 110. And when you leave it like that, it crystallizes back so much faster, because those large sugar particles in there, they act as a catalyst for the rest of it to grab to, and it crystallizes very quickly. So 110 works well for me. It will take approximately 3 to 5 days to liquefy a bucket of honey, or several cases stacked in there at 110 degrees. And that's honey that's not solid. That's when it starts getting what I call sloshy. So if I have a solid bucket of honey It's a little bit different than if I have cases of pints. So if buckets are solid all the way through, like this, it's going to take a higher temperature. I will run mine up to 120 degrees. I don't go any higher than that. I've played around with it. I feel that over 120 degrees, the flavor and the color is affected. Below that, I really don't see any difference in flavor or color. But beyond that, it starts to darken slightly. If you have light honey, it will darken it, warming it up like that. And as far as flavor, it seems to dull it to me. You end up with just a much milder flavor. It seems to kill all that subtle flavor profiles that are in your honey. And those are important for local sellers because they're what makes your honey individual to your area, your backyard, or whatever. Beyond 120 and 130, really after 130, you're going to start having a big flavor change because you're going to begin caramelizing your honey. It's going to darken significantly, and it's going to take on a caramelized flavor, and if left in there long enough, it will definitely have a burnt flavor. And even higher than that, it will begin to take on bitter notes. A lot of honey on the shelves has been heated to 140 degrees plus. It's typically, it'll make it a dark amber if it was a lighter honey. And it doesn't taste bad, but if you're familiar with that flavor, you'll remember, and when you taste it, you'll know that this is heated honey because it takes on a caramelized flavor. It's not exactly off-putting, but it doesn't have any more of those subtle flavors that I like to experience in different varietals. So it's pretty simple. You can buy some plug and play. All you really need is a drill, cordless drill to drill your holes, a tube of silicone to seal up around your wires. The rest of these is just pretty much plug and play. Like I said, I will put in the description some recommended parts for this. Then you just got to get out and find you a box that'll work for you. Go out on trash day, take a look around your neighborhood, check Facebook Marketplace, check Craigslist. It's pretty easy to find them. If you can't find an upright freezer, find a chest freezer. Usually they're in abundance that have quit working. One word of caution, open them up before you start loading them and turning them around this way and that. If they're a broken freezer, they may have some rotten food in them. And that can make a bad day for you. And as I said before, I have seen a dishwasher used. It was a really neat little setup. A buddy of mine named Eddie Nunn has a dishwasher heater set up. It's not operating as a dishwasher. He has a light bulb and a thermostat and fan to circulate in it, but it's on a small plywood platform with casters. It's low. So he can load the honey easily. He doesn't have to pick it up very high like if you had a chest freezer. So get creative. You can even build you a box. If you're using 55-gallon drums or drums, you can use the same concept. You just have to build you a plywood cabinet, something high enough that you can roll it into or slide it into. And it'll work out great. Even with the 55-gallon drums, you may have to graduate up from 100-watt light bulbs and use heat lamp bulbs or maybe even a ceramic heater. But insulation pretty much is the most important part of it. If it's an insulated box, it's going to hold that temperature and it's going to work in getting your honey liquefied. So if you have any questions for me, leave them in the comments. I will include some pictures of what can happen to one that overheats. I will include some pictures of the interior here of the muffin fan for you. Uh, and like I said, if you got any questions, let me know. And I'll see you guys around. So this is the kind of damage that you can expect from a 100 watt light bulb when it's not regulated. The temperature can build up to over 200 degrees and melt the door, all the internal stuff, and could wreak havoc on any plastic bottled honey and cook any honey that's in there.